Terence Bud Crawford, pound for pound king of not just the welterweight division, all of men's boxing. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. In this video, I tell you how Bud Crawford got it done, what's next for Errol Spence Jr., and Bud Crawford, what he looks like in his final form. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of the latest and greatest when the content drops. Now, last night, for those of you who took the time to sit down and watch Errol Spence Jr., Terence Bud Crawford, undisputed bout, 147 pounds, first in the history. Congratulations to Terence Bud Crawford getting the job done and getting it done emphatically. Like I said before, I'm going to discuss Terence Crawford in his final form. Congratulations to Errol Spence Jr. for being fervent in his pursuit of this fight. If there's anything less than respect given to a man who stalled out his own career for an opportunity to become undisputed at 147 pounds and take on a guy like Terence Bud Crawford, then you should probably stop this video and move along. The first part of this video, I want to break down what I saw. Now, stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe. Go ahead and just subscribe. Get it out of the way because I'm going to cut up a clip. You guys know how I do with the fight footage and edits and videos. Terence Bud Crawford reached his final form. Yeah, I would even go as far as to say is anything more than what he was last night would just be, it would not be good for the sport of boxing in a positive way. How did Terence Bud Crawford cook, just brutalize Errol Spence Jr.? Well, I said this yesterday in a live. I don't know how clear I was because obviously we kicking and watching fights, so the beverages may have been involved. Now, what Bud Crawford did was this. From a mentality perspective, he said, you know, whatever Errol's going to do to me, he's going to do to me. That's what's going to happen. He prepared himself to really be in a very physical war, a fight. Dancing around the ring and bouncing up on his toes and those types of things were not anything that Bud Crawford did do or wanted to do. He wanted to stand and fight Errol Spence. He was intelligent. He took a half step back. He landed some good counter shots. But overall, he just wanted to fight Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence. Specifically, technique perspective. Ridiculously offensive with a jab. Going into this bout, many rated Errol's jab better than Bud's, and I think that for good reason. Bud has largely used his, and I've said this in videos many times, from last year, April 16th, until today. Bud Crawford uses his jab more to bait guys in so that he can counter them. He's not very offensive with his jab. He was offensive last night with that jab. He put a lot of pressure on Errol Spence Jr. It's a complexity they did not anticipate. They thought Bud Crawford was just going to do the same Bud Crawford deal. Wait, be patient, try to counter you, take a little damage, and then try to get something in the back end. Terence Crawford and team took no chances. They went right for Errol Spence Jr. They were extremely offensive early, and they prepared themselves to be in a very, very brutal physical war. Terence Bud Crawford in his jab and the way he deployed it and utilized it was the beginning of the end for Errol Spence Jr. We already knew that he could counterpunch, so I won't harp on that. And I don't think the counterpunching is what caught Errol Spence off guard. It was the pressure from Bud Crawford, and it was him coming out so sharp with the jab, so offensive with the jab. That's the most important punch of the sport of boxing. It's why you lean towards a guy like Errol Spence, because he utilizes that jab. He does his thing. Bud Crawford said, I have a jab too. Yeah, I haven't used this in about 6 years, 7 years, maybe longer, and watch what I'm about to do. A lot of conversations floating around out there in comment sections, some of my comment sections about how Errol was physically. I'm not interested in having that conversation. When he got on the scale and weighed in, he looked great to me. He looked great in the ring. He looked like he physically prepared himself to take on a guy like Bud Crawford. And in some portion of the fight, I think we did see a very, very good version of Errol, a prepared version, not slow, sluggish, not, oh, did he, train incorrectly or was his diet fucked up or anything like that? Nah, I think we got a pretty solid version of Errol Spence Jr. We got a different version, Bud Crawford's final form. Now, I want to speak specifically to what I mean by Bud Crawford's final form. What do we know about Bud Crawford? Good ring IQ, good power. He didn't mess around with switching stances, so we won't talk about that. Very creative. I said that yesterday in a video. He's a creative fighter. Bud in his final form, and I want to break down why this is terrifying to observe. Bud in his final form is violent. Oh, well, he's got knockouts, and he knocked out all welterweights. No. This was not the same thing. This was not the same thing. Bud in his final form is the guy where you can say, oh, well, he's good at this and that. Well, but sometimes this happens to him. You know, we never sometimes. No, I'm not going to say that name. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that right now. Bud Crawford has ascended the ladder in the sport of boxing, not just in this generation, but all generations. Is a pound-for-pound great in the history of boxing. Point blank, period. I said it's too hard to sit around and denigrate and shit on Errol Spence Jr. and then give Bud praise. So I passed on that shitty-ass clickbait nonsense. Errol Spence Jr. is a great champion. You know what this reminds me of? And I think somebody said this last night in my live. I don't remember. So if I'm stealing for you, you know, I love you. I got love for you. We out here. When Inoue cooked Fulton on Tuesday, cats like, oh, told you, yeah, Inoue's the beast and blah, blah, blah. And none of those things are untrue. But I think the thing that you realize, because as boxing fans, sometimes people can be emotional. Stephen Fulton is a great champion. Unified, 122-pound champion. Undefeated, 21-0, 8 knockouts. Inoue's coming up in weight to fight him from 18 to 22, I believe. And also we know he's undefeated, former undisputed. And he made it look easy with that jab. You know, Fulton, he had the 3-inch reach advantage, and he was a bigger guy and all this good stuff. And Inoue said, yeah, I'm cool off all that. I'm about to cook this dude. And when I said in the post breakdown for that fight, great fighters make great fighters. This is why I could say before this outcome was rendered that if Bud Crawford won, because someone asked me, because I picked Errol Spence to win the fight. And someone said, well, what are you going to do if Bud Crawford wins? And I said, recognize him as a pound-for-pound king. And I can do that because Errol Spence Jr. is a great fighter. He's more than a great fighter. In my mind, he is a great fighter. He's one of the guys that we'll remember forever, in my opinion. And when a guy like Bud Crawford comes in and makes it look easy and walks through an Errol Spence, he's stamping that envelope and stating, yeah, I'm not just pound for pound today. I'm pound for pound, period. He said he was open to the rematch. Shout out to Bud Crawford. He just trying to get that bag because he could walk away today at 35 years of age, and he is a pound for pound great, period. Generationally, today, next week, he's pound for pound. They talk about him moving up to 54 and fighting whoever has a belt up there. Terence Crawford will beat that person. If it's a Charlo, he'll beat him. And you arrive at this place because you got to ask me, you got to show me something. I said, Bud Crawford, best chance he has to win is a one shot. That's not how he got it done. And I also said, Bud Crawford has the ability to go Super Saiyan. He can just turn up on you. He'd never really turned up in this fight. He fought at the same even pace and did his thing, so he pseudo-checked the box. The other thing I said Bud Crawford would have to do to get this done, to get a victory against Errol Spence Jr., is he'd have to show me something that I have not seen him do. He checked the box. He put all the pieces together. He boxed, and he fought. His composure was on point. That's another thing I want to talk about. The fight is so crazy. It's so ridiculous. We start breaking down silly shit like, did you see what his fro? You know, his fro was more aggressive than Errol's fro, so I think he might get it done. Like, we started talking about crazy shit, right? But I had questions for Bud Crawford about the handling of fight week, his physical condition. You know, he looked straight up, point blank period, he looked fucking terrible going into this fight. You Yeah, he was ripped, but he looked like it took a lot of work for him to get there. Agitated, weight cuts will do that to you. I had questions about where he was at in his mind as he went into this fight. He answered all those questions. I want to give a special shout out to somebody. Shout out to Alyssa. We were having a conversation yesterday, and she said to me, and this is not a hardcore, diehard boxing fan or no shit like that, but this is someone who has to deal with just listening to me talk about it all damn day. She said to me, she said, you know, if Bud Crawford is at this point of irritation or frustration or agitation and doesn't have a lot to say, and maybe he's about to come out and unleash something that we haven't seen. Maybe he's just waiting for his opportunity to express himself athletically and violently. She didn't say it like that, but that's essentially what she said. And she couldn't have been any more correct. Oh, you see Bud Crawford, he did this, that, and blah, 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 blah. And Bud Crawford was just patiently waiting. Now, Errol was composed too. Errol did his thing. I don't have anything critical to say about Errol, but the video is about Bud Crawford and the questions I had, or many had, going into this bout from is he where he needs to be mentally to go in here and get this done against Errol Spence Jr. Not only was he was in his mind waiting around for this moment. He's that caged lion or tiger just pacing back and forth, waiting to get an opportunity to throw punches and put his hands on Errol Spence Jr. He came to the ring. He had a net on his vest. That was crazy. Shout out to Bud Crawford. More videos to come. I want to know what your thoughts are. One of the things that I'm seeing in the comment sections, and we had these conversations last night on my live, is what is next for Errol Spence. It sounded like the rematch, but when you get beat in a certain way, like think about this. Think about the Marquez Pacquiao. They fought 4 times. Ultimately, Pacquiao got knocked out brutally. His ass was in the air. His wife was crying, stuff like that. They fought 4 times because every single fight was compelling. One was a draw. Pacquiao got 2 victories, and there was a knockout. I think Marquez, in my opinion, won the 3rd fight, which they shaded to Pacquiao, and then he knocked him out in the 4th fight, that being Marquez with Pacquiao. But you wanted to see those fights because they're very compelling. Like, damn, Pacquiao and Marquez, they're going to do it again. You know I'm going to check that out. Errol Spence Jr., Terence Bud Crawford was not that kind of fight. Exciting build-up. You know you have 2 great fighters, but Bud Crawford kind of mowed through Errol. I'm not saying I don't want to see a rematch. I'm not saying that. I think that, oh my goodness. Terence Bud Crawford whooped his ass, so I don't really know. I'm trying to think. Here's where I'm delaying. I'm delaying because I don't know the adjustments that Errol can make to give himself a better opportunity. Maybe I need to spend more time watching the tape, check out some of the numbers from CompuBox and stuff like that. But like I mentioned before with Marquez Pacquiao, those fights were compelling fights. No matter the outcome, you can be like, damn, if so-and-so just does this 1 or 2 things a little differently, they can get it done. I'm trying to figure out what that is for Errol Spence Jr. Let me know what your thoughts are on the fight. Congratulations to both men, but congratulations especially to Terence Bud Crawford, Omaha's very own. I got asked a question because I picked Errol. What are you going to do if Bud wins? Like I said before, we have not had a pound-for-pound king in men's boxing, in my opinion, since Floyd left. I know that Crawford was rated up there, Canelo Crawford. But you could reject it. You could talk about, Tank Davis or Errol Spence for that matter, Inoue, Usyk, these type of guys. The conversation, in my opinion, despite the performance of Inoue on Tuesday, is over. Terence Bud Crawford is pound for pound the best fighter today, next week, last week, and of this generation. You don't go to 40 and 47 and become undisputed. And we call you something other than that. And Errol Spence Jr. did the heavier lifting. He lifted the belts off of 3 champions. He ran the gauntlet. Bud Crawford took it all away. That's the sport of boxing. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. We out.